Hey, it's Jürgen. Quick recap, you missed a lot. Since the Fenerbahce win, we've smashed Nürnberg, Holstein Kiel, Union Berlin, and Mönchengladbach, all clean sheets, all dominant. Then came Augsburg, 6-0. Kudus and Simons run riot, Martel pulled the strings, and oh yeah, deadline day, chaos. Now, it's all eyes on the big one, Bayern Munich. Let's go.
Episode number 38 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with Leipzig. I hope you're doing well and come up today. We've got Bayern Munich A in the Bundesliga, a top of the table clash, which if we win, we probably put one hand on the Bundesliga trophy with just 10 games left in the season off back of this one. And also, we won't be playing the first leg of the round of 16 in the Champions League because we did a lot of business on transfer deadline day, which will take a little while to run through. So looking forward to quite a few transfers, and this Bayern Munich game will be our toughest one so far in the Bundesliga this season. And do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on today's video, all that good YouTube algorithmic type of stuff. But yesterday, we took on both Newcastle and Fenerbahce in the last couple of games of the league phase of the Champions League. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Unfortunately, suffered our first defeat at home during the course of that episode with a 1-0 loss to Newcastle. But thankfully, we bounced back with a win over Fenerbahce once I find it down a little bit further, 3-0, which did steal our spot straight through the round of 16. To be fair, I think even if we didn't pick up a win in that game, a draw would have been enough, and even a loss, that might have been okay as well. But thankfully, it did make our way straight through to the round of 16, while the likes of Dortmund and Bayern Munich did have to go through the first knockout playoff round. But we've just been focusing on domestic competition since then, even with the loss of Benjamin Sesko late on in that Fenerbahce game. Thankfully, it hasn't proved costly at all because we've picked up wins in the 5 games that we have played since then, 4 of them in the Bundesliga. 2-0 over Holstein Kiel, Benziger with an early goal there in Martel just before half-time. Then we took on Union Berlin and beat them 3-0. Simons, Klosterman and Ramsak there with goals in the second half. The same scoreline as we took on Gladbach. Kudus has really found form our last couple of games here. He picked up a double and also set up that late goal for Marban. And against Augsburg, we thrashed them 6-0. Kudus, Marban and Simons all picking up doubles. So we've gone perfect in the Bundesliga, and also have made our way through to a semi-final of the DFB Pokal with a 4-2 win to put out a pretty heavy rotation for this game. And a lot of our new signings, they got some game time, as you can see over there on the right-hand side, but did make our way through to the semi-finals there with a 4-2 win. This is what happened in all the other quarterfinals. All the other big teams made their way through alongside us, plus Nuremberg, who took on Glöfer Fürth. And going forward to the semi-finals, we've got a very kind draw considering who we could have got in. We avoid both Dortmund and Bayern. We take on Nuremberg, and those two can try and knock each other out, but hopefully the right to play us in that DFB Pokal final. So it's all going very swimmingly for us here currently at RB Leipzig, despite the fact that KloppBot made some interesting decisions on transfer deadline day. That's the reason this episode's gone down to just 1 game instead of 2. To be fair, still only got through the round of 16 by the time that we did wrap up tomorrow's episode anyway, so you get both legs of that coming up tomorrow. Also worth noting in the Champions League, we'll go back here and click back to that first knockout playoff round so you guys can see who made their way through that. Ajax got past Atalanta, Lazio past Marseille, Man City, they got past Feyenoord this time. Unlike in real life, Arsenal, they got past PSV. Dortmund, they made their way through just over Athletic Bilbao. PSG, they got past Atletico Madrid. Porto past RZ, and Bayern Munich with a pretty comfy win over Benfica. But that second leg did only get played a couple of days before this Bundesliga game that we are about to play. So hopefully the fact of it to play a couple of extra games of late compared to us making our way straight through to the round of 16, that will pay off, albeit we've actually got a little bit of a tough draw for that round of 16. I was hoping we might sneak our way into playing a team like Porto, Ajax, or even Lazio again, but no. We take on Arsenal now. To be fair, did beat them in one of our first games back in the league phase of the Champions League, and that was at the Emirates. But still, that might be tough coming up in tomorrow's episode over 2 legs, but hopefully can find a way to get past the Arsenal. Still got Mikel Arteta in charge, look very similar to the team that we did beat 2-1 earlier this season. But they are doing quite well up in third in the Premier League. And of course, yesterday, we lost to Newcastle, who it looks like have already picked up a cup there over in England. But they're down in 9th about 13 points below them. So hopefully we can improve off the back of that Newcastle performance yesterday and pick up a win, make our way through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and we can try and go all the way and pick that up during the course of next week alongside the Bundesliga, and hopefully as well the DFB Pokal a lot earlier than I expected that to be the case here at RB Leipzig. But going back to the reason that we are only doing the one game in today's episode, there's been a lot of transfers off the back of those Champions League games that we did play. You can see our transfer budget, that's gone up to 21 million, despite quite a few signings because of the sales we made. So it does mean our transfer budget going to next season should be relatively healthy, around the £40 million mark at the very least. But we make our way over to the transfer history tab, and you can see, boy, we've spent some money this season, got rid of £284,000 worth of players and signed 305,000. So we'll start off here on the right-hand side. Alex Mariba, that one went through pretty much straight off the back of that game that we did play today against Fenerbahce. He's gone to RZ for a fee of 8 million, rising to 8.75. The KloppBot thought we might as well get rid of him as the backup box-to-box midfielder with that current ability and potential only being 2.5 stars to be fair. Was starting to find some decent form in his last couple of games here at RB Leipzig, but had just been a little bit average, certainly not as much potential as he has had in previous versions of Football Manager. The club actually makes a bit of a loss on that transfer compared to when they bought him back in 21-22 from Barcelona, but he's made his way over to RZ in the Eredivisie. So it did mean that at that stage we were down to 2 box-to-box midfielders, just going back up here, getting rid of the circles, because quite a few players here that we do need to run through on both sides. Also, we got rid of a youngster and Roland Gotto to Paderborn for £94,000. Off the back of that, Hugo Sakai did leave. That was on transfer deadline day. He went to Inter Milan for that fee of £29 million. A backup right back who, to be fair, was improving quite a bit this season with a couple of upgrades in terms of our coaches, but was unhappy with being a backup here and behind someone like Pedro Malheiro. So he's departed the club after about a season and a half here, after the previous manager, who at that stage I believe was Brendan Rodgers, signed him for £30 million. Not too much of a loss there on Hugo Sakai, but we did go down to just Malheiro as well as Klosterman as our right back options. That was definitely an area that we needed to find a replacement in the remainder of the transfer window. Also, then we sold one more player from our first team, and this was the big one that threw the cat amongst the pigeons just a little bit. Levi Cole, a big came in for him from Manchester City. No doubt because he's homegrown English, they probably need him for the Champions League or something in the KloppBot. He said 54 million up front, 70 million overall. That looks pretty good for Levi Cole, who, to be fair, did a really good job coming back from the winter break, while the likes of Luke Caber were working their way back from injury. But he's now gone over to Man City, a big bump up there to our transfer budget. For that £54 million up front, rising to 70, he was only here for around a year overall. I think we signed him just off the back of joining in January of 2026. He was a backup for us for the entirety of this time here, so the KloppBot thought might as well take that money while we can for Cole, and he's now gone over to Manchester City. So a few sales there, that last one, definitely just changing our plans going into that deadline day that we did just have, and it did mean we had a fair bit of money that we could spend. Mariba at 8 million, Sakai just under 30, and Cole just over 50. That was quite a bit of money that we did have available, and we certainly made the most of it. Not quite in terms of overall quality, I would say, but we've certainly added depth here at RB Leipzig, and also tried to fix the problem we had going to this season of not too many homegrown players. And our first transfer definitely helped with that. We bought an improvement on Gavin Bazunu as a backup goalkeeper. Dennis Simon comes in from Stuttgart for £11.5 million. Is a really good option for a backup. This was someone we're actually considering to sign instead of Restes if we didn't have the money with his release clause at £11.5 million for clubs in the Champions League. Man City also went after him that same time that we did. Thankfully, he joined us potentially because we gave him the option to be our domestic cup goalkeepers. He'll be starting for us in competitions like the DFB Pokal, and certainly can do a job if Restes does pick up an injury. He's definitely a good option as a sweeper keeper on support. There's a little bit of potential as well. It can go up to 3.5 stars, but given that current value, the fact we only paid 11 million for him is a pretty darn good bit of business. Simon comes in now as our backup goalkeeper. Probably means that Bazunu might be on his way out the door when we make our way to the end of our first full season here at RB Leipzig. To be fair, only spent 400k on him not like it's going to make too much difference anyway if we let go of him or not. But Simon comes in as a homegrown nation player, which was much needed, especially for Champions League registration. Above that, the next player that we did sign was a centre-back. This was one of two replacements we actually signed for that departure of Levi Colwill, and the first of those was Paulo Bernardo, a pretty similar fee there to Simon, 11.75 million rising to just over 13 from Inter Milan. He is a young wonder kid at 18 years old, 2-star current abilities, so probably not someone we want to start too often, but does have quite a bit of potential at 4.5 stars. Hopefully he'll develop into that and long term end up being a better option than Levi Colwill was, but certainly interesting option, that one from the KloppBot, to sign a youngster to replace Colwill. He was out on loan at Cagliari this season, doing a decent job there in City B. We'll see how he gets on if we use him at RB Leipzig currently in our under-19s, but did play that cup game, that quarter-final of the DFB Pokal. We pulled him at half-time on a yellow card and a 6.4, but hopefully he'll prove worth that little bit of money that we did get from the Colwill sale. And I did say that we signed a second centre-back to replace Colwill. That would be Marco Scuglio, also out of Italy, from the Sassy Boys in Sassuolo for £11.5 million. Not quite as good as Bernardo in terms of current ability, but potential-wise might end up being a little bit better. So a couple of really promising centre-backs there that the KloppBot has signed. One of them should end up being pretty good, and with both of them being under 18, they should also at some stage become homegrown club as well. So that could work out quite well long-term here, those signings for that money that we did get from Levi Colwill. Just in terms of current ability though, not too sure that was the best move, considering that we're trying to keep top spot in the Bundesliga and have made our way through as well to that round of 16 in the Champions League. We can see so far no senior appearances for either the Sassy Boys or us, but he did actually play for us in that cup game, got a 6.5, so a little bit better than Bernardo. Hopefully fills out that 5-star potential and becomes a good centre-back for us. And of course, also earlier this season, we did sign, just going back up here a little bit, Shabalala, who's still out on loan at the Orlando Pirates, and he's also got quite a bit of potential to be fair. That was quite a cheap transfer. I think that one was only about 400k. But yeah, a lot of young centre-backs now here at RB Leipzig. That could be interesting, a bit of a fight there to see who might take that spot that has been vacated by Colwill, especially once he returns going into our second full season in charge here at RB Leipzig, if we don't do something silly like win the Bundesliga or the Champions League as well. Going back to the ins, we bought in a box-to-box midfield replacement for Alex Mariba. This was actually because we signed someone on a free going next season with that spare Colwill money, seeing as we only spent about 23 million of it on those centre-back replacements. We thought may as well bring him in early. That would be Lewis Miley from Newcastle. Not the best looking in terms of current ability or potential, but is actually a little bit of an upgrade on Alex Mariba. So for about the same cost, we've bought in Lewis Miley for the remainder of this season. Could have gone on a free going to next year, but decided to bring him in early with those extra transfer funds that we did have, just in case one of Almas or Musa did pick up an injury. So Lewis Miley comes in from Newcastle on transfer deadline day off the back of that sale of Alex Mariba. Also coming in, we bought in one more player for the first team. In fact, two, I tell a lie. First up, the replacement for the departing Hugo Sakai. That was Adam Usnau from Bochum. He's homegrown nation, which was very useful and is quite young as well at 21, the former Barcelona man who then joined Bayern Munich. We've got him off of Bochum after only 1 year, and he has 2-star current ability and 3.5-star potential. Not a bad wingback on either side in that complete wingback option that we do use. On the right-hand side, he comes in for a fee of £4.7 million. You can see now why we had so much transfer funds still there off the back of deadline day. Replaced pretty much all the squad players that we did sell with people who were a heck of a lot cheaper, but that one's quite useful, as we've mentioned now a few times, because of the fact we didn't have too many homegrown nation players, as now does fill that role for us for the remainder of the season as the backup to Pedro Malheiro. And because we still have about 30-odd million in our transfer budget, the KloppBot decided let's sign some wonder kids as well. First up, Veliko Obradovic. We signed him from Partizan, then loaned him straight back out for £5.25 million. He's a ball-wing midfielder, so is competing with someone like Rodrigo Ramirez, who is hiding down in our under-19s, but he looks a little bit better with 2-star current ability and 4-star potential. A couple of nice attributes there, good technique, decent tackling, and some good teamwork. He's got a bit of potential there at 4 stars. So hopefully he'll develop nicely at Partizan for the remainder of this season, and we'll see what we do there in that position next season, because we've got a couple of decent young options now that we can call up if we need to in behind both Martel and Bajcetic. He comes in as a bit of a punt there on a wonder kid for not too much money, and the same applies to Moica Del Mondes out of Brazil and Fluminense for a release clause of £10 million. We're going to try and train him up as a quite promising box-to-box midfielder, but he has 5-star potential, 1.5-star current ability. He looks like he could be a very good player come a couple of years' time. So lots of business that we did do there on transfer deadline day. To be fair, only a couple of them are relevant to the first team, because we have signed there quite a few wonder kids who will hopefully develop for the most part in our under-19s for the remainder of this season. Then we'll see how they're getting on going to next season. Could freshen up the team if we feel that that's something that we do need to do, and also just strengthening our numbers for homegrown nation players, just to make sure that's not quite as much of an urgent matter going in the second season here, to make sure that we can actually register 25 players for the Champions League. So we've brought in quite a few cheap options after getting rid of the likes of Colwell and Sakai for quite a big fee. So our squad has changed a little bit off the back of yesterday's episode, but hopefully can still keep up our form in the Bundesliga, because currently we have a very nice gap on top of the table of 12 points. If we beat Bayern here, that's 15-point gap with only 10 games left in the season. You'd like to think we'd hold on and pick up the title. If we can do that, a draw here will be fine as well, away from home. A loss, that might make things a little bit interesting, but as I said, hopefully with these guys having only played a couple of days ago, that second leg when they took on Benfica in the Champions League first knockout round, which we skipped, you'd like to think they might be a bit tired and we can get the better of Vincent Kompany and his men. We've taken them on 2 times so far, once last season, once this season at the Red Bull Arena in the Bundesliga, and it was a draw both times. To be fair, as I said, wouldn't mind that result, but a win here, that would be really, really useful with that gap that we get on top of the table, especially because in between the Champions League round of 16 tie against Inter Milan, they're away at Borussia Dortmund, so they've got a really tough little pitch coming up here. Have Bayern Munich. Let's see if we can get the better of them for the first time in the save so far. We are dealing with a few little injuries and suspensions, though, unfortunately. Before this big game, Aljif Almas did pick up a flu off the back of that 6-0 win over Augsburg. So he's out for this game that we are going to play in today's episode. And it does mean that Yunus Musa comes in and starts. When we signed Lewis Miley, I thought he'd actually be a bit better than Yunus Musa. Our scouts were wrong, so that was a bit of a balls up there in truth. Probably didn't need to spend that $8 million on him and bring him in this season, but to be fair, doesn't hurt our transfer budget too much with how much we've got lying in there. So Miley will be on the bench while Musa does start. And also David Brown comes in for Oosterwolde, who is suspended, picking up a yellow card in that Augsburg game as well. So a couple of players who are missing. Also Benjamin Sesko is back from injury, but is working his way back. And to be fair, Uzil Marban has been in some really good form while Sesko has been out. Also Ramsak down the bottom there has been doing well, but will slowly bring Sesko back through the bench, make sure he doesn't get injured too soon off the back of coming back from that injury. And also actually, I forgot one more signing that we did make. Killian Salt comes in. I believe that was from Gladbach. Indeed, that was the case. That was for a fee of around £10 million. He's a bit better than Antonio Nusa as an attacking midfield option and is homegrown nation with a bit more potential. As I said, just wanting to strengthen our homegrown nation options. So another signing here, he makes his way onto the bench over Antonio Nusa for this top of the table clash where we do take on Bayern Munich. So far, he played that cup game as well and got 2 assists. So he looks like quite a promising player there. Does Killian Salt pinch them off of Gladbach? Hopefully, he'll do a bit better than someone like Antonio Nusa was, but it does mean now a lot of squad depth here at RB Leipzig. Hopefully, we'll show it in this top of the table clash away at Bayern Munich, but it is our first time going to Munich in the same. So before we try and beat Bayern for the first time, it's time to check out the KloppBot's hotspots. And first up, we're going to try and find some accommodation here in Munich, and here's what the KloppBot's found now. Quite differently to what he usually does, he's given us here 2 options in Munich. First one, the Hotel Europäischer Hof, that's got 3.5-star review from only 30. The other place though has only got a 3-star review from 113 reviews. So I think here the hotel option that we'll go with is that first one. Apparently situated in the city centre, this hotel provides easy access to public transport and is known for accommodating sports teams, offering amenities tailored to their needs. Let's see what this place does look like. Here's the hotel. It doesn't look that fancy, truth be told, but let's see what else we can find here on the main page. It's located apparently in the heart of the city, quite close to the Munich Central Station. Going down a bit further, we'll see what else pops up here. They've got free high-speed Wi-Fi, that's quite useful. Daily breakfast, room with a fan, that'd be quite useful now because down here in New Zealand it's summertime and boy it feels like it, albeit apparently no air conditioning. We probably could do a bit better than that, Jurgen. This looks like a bit of a step down from some of our recent accommodation. There are the rooms, they look okay, but honestly I was expecting a bit more here from the KloppBot, especially compared to some of the other places that we have stayed at recently. But there's our accommodation, they do breakfast and not much else it looks like. So it's a place to sleep that feeds you in the morning and doesn't do much else, but it is right in the centre of Munich. So that's where we'll be staying here before we take on Bayern Munich in this big top of the table clash. Now the free activities he's found are actually a little bit different to what he usually does, thankfully. First up, we're going to do an Olympic Stadium roof climb and zip line. We'll experience breathtaking views of Munich by climbing to the roof of the Olympic Stadium, followed by an exhilarating zip line descent. This adventure promotes team bonding through shared excitement and challenges. Let's see if that works, because to be fair, lots of new signings might need to do all that team bonding stuff again. So hopefully that's one that does work. Here's the website where the KloppBot found this, and there's what we're doing. Going onto the roof and then zip lining down it somehow, I think, into the stands to finish, which is an interesting option. Hopefully that doesn't backfire, but you can see there, you're going to scale the roof, enjoy the views over the sea that reaches far as the Bavarian Alps, and once there, get some historical facts and take a dramatic turn when we zip line 40 metres down, 200 metres across through the stadium. So that'll be an interesting one there to get us underway in Munich. Off the back of that second activity, that is some Bavarian curling. Eisstockschießen, I believe is how you might pronounce that one. Apologies if I'm wrong, but we'll engage in a traditional Bavarian sport similar to curling. That's quite familiar to some of us in New Zealand if you live down south in Naseby in particular. It's played on ice or smooth surfaces. This activity encourages teamwork and friendly competition in a cultural context. Here's the website where the KloppBot found this one. It looks very, very similar to curling, just maybe without the brooms you get out in the ice skates. That's the best way I can describe this. What we're going to be doing here second up over in Munich, some Bavarian curling. So we'll try that out, see if anyone should be an Olympian in their spare time. Hopefully the fellas will enjoy that, especially because we can do it regardless of weather conditions. There's rain ponchos for all participants if it gets a bit too heavy, the weather. So thankfully we can do that even if it rains. And third up, we're going to do some virtual reality, immerse the team in a virtual reality adventure where collaboration is key to overcoming challenges in a simulated environment. This innovative activity enhances communication and problem solving skills. Here's the website where the KloppBot found this one. At least I thought it was down here somewhere.
A few moments later.
And after the first website the KloppBot gave us false activity, didn't have anything about VR on it. Here's something I've found on a different one. We can do Ghostbusters. That seems like it should be pretty fun team bonding sort of stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing there in Munich before we get stuck in this big top of the table clash. We'll just see if there's anything interesting here in terms of the VR. We'll race against ghosts. So that's what we're going to be doing there third up in Munich, off the back of the curling as well as that stadium zip line and look out over Munich. Hopefully that'll get us ready for this top of the table clash for a win. We'll put one hand on the Bundesliga trophy. And here are the team sheets for this big top of the table clash in the Bundesliga. First up, the home team in Bayern Munich. They are going with a 4-2-3-1, and it's a very strong looking Bayern Munich team as well. Here we come here with our slightly different 4-2-3-1 asymmetrical. Couple of changes as we ran through before. Raum at left back, we've got Musa in box-to-box midfield, and also Marban up front, seeing as Sesko still coming back from injury, and the other two thanks to flu and suspension, but hopefully can continue that good form that we've been building up since the winter break and pick up 3 big points to extend the gap over Bayern to 15 with 10 games left in the season. And it's been a fair wait for the first highlight of this game, but a half hour and a free kick there to Mohamed Kudus, who puts that one onto the woodwork, nearly beats Lunin, but can't quite score. A couple of nice free kick goals in the last couple of games where he has played, where he's picked up 4, but unfortunately that time it doesn't come off. He's only going fairly on a 6.5, and a couple of players 2 out there on yellow cards, so we might be in for a couple of subs here at the half. Martel actually our best player, but seeing on a yellow card, that's a bit concerning, but that's been a pretty average first half from both teams. We've had no shots on target, Bayern just the one, and it's 0-0. So far this is looking like a pretty average game to be coming back for in today's episode, but we'll take off those players on yellow cards. Klosterman for this one is our left back cover, with of course Kier being out on loan at Brest, and also Bacetic in there. In defensive midfield, we'll leave Kudus out there for now, having been so good in our last couple of games. But so far, this one's very quiet, still locked up at 0-0. And we've given them 15 minutes here in the second half to turn things around, but our attackers so far going pretty fairly here. So Kudus, who's been in great form recently, can come off. Marvin on 6.52. Let's bring Sesko on off the bench. Hopefully he can give some impact. And as well as that, we'll bring on a Drago as well at left wing. Salk out there at right wing off the back of a good debut in that DFB Pokal quarterfinal. But still, this has been a pretty quiet game as we make our way into the last half hour. Still 0-0. Eventually though, we get a corner, put it far post there for Castello, but his header is off target and it's still scoreless, albeit now we do see the goal kick off the back of that pump it deep. Thankfully, Xavi can just get that ball back for us. Klosterman there to Udrago, but unfortunately, he's a bit loose on the ball. And really, for the first time that we've seen in this game, Bayern Munich, they do get on the front foot. Musiala here, some good short passing. Baumann, a quite promising player, gets played through there as we try and tightly mark Harry Kane. It doesn't pay off in Bayern Munich with the first attack that we've seen from them in this game. They make it 1-0, so maybe they're going to find some form like the big teams do tend to do here late on in the seasons in Football Manager. But some good short passing there, especially that good hold-up play there from Harry Kane to find Baumann. We go 1-0 down with just over 20 minutes left. And only a few minutes off back of that goal now, we've got a free kick at a Bayern Munich. They go far post there, and Zabanya gets his head on the end of that one. Both him and Upamecano, we're going to try and put that one away. Thankfully, though, it comes off the woodwork. We are struggling in this game. It's been a pretty poor second half as well as the first one, but so far, don't think we've got a single shot off in the second 45 minutes. So I think now it's time for us here to try and go a bit more attacking and try and grab a draw from this game, because that certainly is a lot better than a loss that keeps the gap at 12 points, and we're still 10 games left in the season. That's a pretty good gap considering we've just got 2 big games left by Leverkusen and Dortmund, and I'm pretty sure both those games are at the Red Bull Arena as well. So this really is our toughest game left in the entire season in the Bundesliga. We've gone attacking, but unfortunately, it's been a pretty dull game, that one, to come back for. In today's episode, not many highlights, most of them in our favour from set pieces. The one open play highlight, and Bayern Munich, they did us there. Some good hold-up play from Harry Kane to find young Louis Baumann, who we could have actually signed with all that spare money, but £40 million for an 18-year-old did seem a bit of a risk. Maybe we should have done that, because he scored the winning goal against us there to hand us only our second defeat of the Bundesliga season. We go 1-0 down to Bayern Munich, and as you'll see, that will close our gap on top of the Bundesliga to 9 points, but BFB is still in a very strong position with only 10 games left. So unfortunately, I think the KloppBot did us there with that rather average accommodation in Munich, because we suffer a 1-0 defeat there away from home, and that does close our gap on top of the Bundesliga to just 9 points. A bit of a shame as well, because Bayer Leverkusen played the day after and got held to a draw by Stuttgart. So even a draw there would have kept our gap at 12 points, but unfortunately it goes down to 9. Maybe Bayern Munich are finding form at the right time of the season, but hopefully we can grab some points when they take on Dortmund and re-establish that gap at around 11 or 12 points on top of that Bundesliga table. And also, rather annoyingly, for some reason, our game against Stuttgart, which is in between the 2 leagues that we'll show you tomorrow when we take on Arsenal in the round of 16, has been bought for today for live TV coverage. So a shorter gap for us there off the back of that first league against Arsenal in London and the Bundesliga game that we will be playing off camera in tomorrow's episode. Hopefully can still pick up a win there against our new backup goalkeeper Simon's former team there in the Bundesliga. But that will do it for today's episode. Lots of transfers off the back of an unexpected sale there of Levi Colwill on deadline day, and also we suffer a defeat there to Bayern Munich to keep that Bundesliga title race just a little bit interesting. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. As I said, we'll come back tomorrow and get through both legs of that Champions League round of 16 clash where we take on Arsenal for the second and third times this season. Hopefully can pick up a win against them just like we did back in our first game of the league phase. But be fair, they're in pretty decent form, so that will be a tough task for us there in the round of 16, but hopefully can make our way through that into the quarterfinals and also maybe pick up a win against Stuttgart while Bayern have to travel to take on Dortmund. So a big episode coming up tomorrow, hopefully can pick up wins in both the Champions League and the Bundesliga. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.